Hello. Welcome back to Trading Weekly once again. It is Sunday, the 26th of October. The clocks have gone back here in the UK, but not in the US. How you doing, Kay?
I'm doing great, man. The clocks will go back on November 2nd. When you asked me, I totally got confused. I was like, yeah, I think they're going back. And then at 2 a.m., I was like, oh, it did not go back. Then I checked, it was November 2nd. So that was funny.
Yeah, it's a good job I came on and asked you that again just to make sure, because otherwise we would have been an hour late over here in the UK. But we're here, we're fresh, we're ready for another week of trading. How was your weekend? Well, how was your week trading last week? Sorry.
I didn't trade that much. I was traveling for work, but I was basically managing my previous week's trade. So CoreWeave, BMNR, those are some names that I was managing throughout the week. But I hadn't any active trades last week.
No, I did a bit of day trading here and there. It's tricky to buy kind of swing trades at the moment, at least in my opinion. So I've kind of
Yeah.
been concentrated a bit more on the day trading side. But before we get into it, obviously subscribe to Trading Weekly on YouTube. We do appreciate it. We always have the support. And obviously, this is not financial advice. It's just a couple of guys on the internet talking about charts, giving their perspectives on any given stock, and obviously, and your stocks as well. Which that brings me on to my next point, which is make sure you put the tickers in the comments. So whether you're on X or if you're on YouTube, you're welcome to put any tickers, any amount of tickers if you like. Probably keep it to maximum 3, I would say, just in case you don't want to hog the whole stream. But yeah, of course, a massive thank you to Wolf as well for letting us use the platform. We really appreciate it. Couldn't do it without you. Let's jump into the slideshow, shall we? Okay. Well, interesting one this week, I think.
That's
Plenty of earnings kicking off this week.
it's a massive week for the earnings. Crazy.
Certainly is. Here we go. Right. So last week was pretty green, and I think Spy QQQ was just up over 1%, I believe. We'll get into that obviously in a second. We've got Nvidia up 3%. We've got Microsoft and Google kind of the same sort of area. Apple a whopping 6% up, and Amazon up 4.5. Tesla a modest 2% after their earnings on Wednesday. And of course, we've got a couple of red names on there. We've got Netflix, kind of is my pointer. There it is. Right in the middle, so we've got Netflix down 7.51% after their earnings on Tuesday or Wednesday, whatever that was.
It
We've
was,
got
it was
Oracle as well.
yeah.
So yeah,
No, I think it was the day before Tesla, I believe.
yeah, I think it was Tuesday off the top of
Yeah.
my head. Okay, and then we've got Oracle as well, which is down 6.7%. So a couple of red ones on there to be noted, but I think mostly across the board, it's pretty green, isn't it? Anything striking off the table
Yeah.
here?
No, it's. I think this is going to be the critical week, I would say, and the next week would be the critical week. Those are the main ones.
100%. There's some big names coming up this week. And I think we'll get into that in just a second. But first of all, we've got the Fear and Greed Index. We're sitting at 33. Last week, we were down about 29. So a similar sort of area, even though we had a bit of a green week, of course. We can see the numbers on the left side of the screen there. We've got SPY up 1.25% and Qs up 1.28%. So pretty even across the board there. Do you want to talk about the key events coming up this week, Kay?
Yeah, absolutely. So the put to call slightly worsened. It was 0.66, now it was 0.67 in a week. But the VIX actually dropped from 22, 21 some points to 16 now. So that's an interesting criteria. And then the key events, we have the consumer confidence numbers coming up. Nowadays, all these numbers actually do matter because it kind of gives you an idea on the health of the economy. Now, don't mistake the health of the economy to the stock market. Those are still detached. These are lagging indicators. So by the time the stock market catches up, things are much worse or much better. Same thing with the GDP numbers are going to come out and the jobless claims. And hopefully the government is still shut down. So hopefully we'll get these numbers and then you'll have the PPI wrapping the week with the PPI number.
So always plenty going on as always, and of course we do have the earnings which we'll roll into now. I mean, where do we start? So on Tuesday we've got the likes of SoFi, Enphase, PayPal, probably the biggest names on there, apart from obviously UPS and Visa, but the more exciting names, should I say? Wednesday we've got Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet all on the same night, so that's going to be an interesting one. I might just get a bowl of popcorn and
Hmm.
just watch a live stream or something like that, just to get my entertainment there. And obviously on Thursday we've got Amazon and Apple as well, another couple of big names. Some smaller names kind of kicking about. Do you want to go through those, Kay?
Yeah, I mean, the from a smaller names perspective, I'm definitely SoFi. I'm looking at SoFi, and a lot of people cover SoFi. Uh, then I think I'm also interested in Boeing because we really want to see if Boeing is going to have a turnaround or not at some point. And then basically couple of I think Riot, and I think if you move our photos, I think there's net. I think Cloudflare is that after. Yeah,
Yeah,
Cloudflare.
there's Cloudflare and Roku
Yeah,
down there as well.
that's what I'll be looking at. I mean, you have Coinbase, Reddit. I'm not. I don't trade those, but the strategy, which is the Bitcoin one, what MSTR.
Yeah, it's
Train.
going to be an interesting week. Yeah. I think there might get a few names in the comments if we do get some suggestions. Probably get a few names that are related to earnings this week, perhaps.
Yeah,
The
we
likes
we
of
got
Coinbase and Reddit are very popular. Yeah.
we got Manram is here, so we got Tesla Net and ALAB.
Yeah, thank you once again for popping up as well, man. We really do appreciate the support, of course. ALAB, I'm looking forward to seeing that one. I haven't seen that for quite some time. It'd be interesting to see what's going on with that. But yeah, earnings it's gonna be an interesting week. Just be careful when you're out there trading. Not so much the actual earnings report itself, but just in and around earnings because it can be very volatile. For example, if Apple and Amazon on Thursday, if they both get a good beat or both get a poor loss, then it's going to affect the overall market as well. So just be careful if you're in the names that are kind of alongside those. Would you agree with that, Kay?
I agree, and I think we brought up Amazon last week. It is still sitting at a point where it's still the laggard in the Mag 7. So you still have a lot of opportunity with Amazon. And I've been watching a lot of reports on Amazon, and I know that on FinTwit everybody is screaming about how Amazon is a great play, is undervalued compared to all the other plays. And I really do think that just like how Google ran up so quick, so fast, I think we'll probably see something similar with Amazon. So this is a good accumulation time, on Amazon if you are into one.
Yeah, I did a bit of a TA the other day on Amazon. It looks like it's just kind of broken out of a trend line as well, which is quite interesting. Perhaps we'll take a look at that ticker a bit later on.
Okay, so
Maybe we'll
let me add that.
stick it on the list now. Might as well. I'm sure someone will bring that up, but still, just in case, we'll put it on the list there for you. Just before we get into the next slide, make sure we get this up on the screen. Down the bottom there, you can see subscribe to Trade Weekly on YouTube, and obviously put your audience requests in the comments. We've got a few already, but keep them coming. We can get to those in probably about 10 minutes or so, or 10, 15 minutes or so, something like that. So yeah, go ahead and do that, and we'll move on to the next slide, which is our first charts of the evening. On the left, as always, we've got the SPY daily, and on the right, we've got the QQQ weekly. I've put the gap indicator on this week, and as you can see on the left side, we've got the SPY chart, as I mentioned. And we filled a gap recently, which is this little one here, and we just created another one on Friday. So it's interesting to see that gap already. Do you see this coming back down to kind of pinch it and then filling and then moving higher, perhaps, or not so
I mean,
much?
that would be the ideal, pullback to that, fill the gap, and then make new hires. I think that would be the ideal scenario. And it's not that much of a difference, right? I mean, we may be able to get that, but I wouldn't be surprised if we keep climbing based on the euphoria of earnings report. If they start rolling up, nicely, we might create couple gaps as well. So.
Yeah, we could really chop around if we do get some mixed reports on Wednesday well, it's 3 big names on Wednesday and 2 big names on Thursday. Sorry, so those 2 days are going to be very volatile for the SPY and QQQ. And then with that on the right side, we've got the Qs kind of sitting at my fib level of 619 ish. So it's just I don't know. I'm not going to say it's resistance anytime soon because obviously given the market where it is and what we've got coming up this week, it's tricky to kind of call anything at this point. But yeah, it's just looking good where it is at the moment, but perhaps just be cautious of where it is at these highs. Anything else you want to add to these charts, Kay?
No, I think next week is. I think QQQ and Spire. It's basically all the Mag 7s. It's gonna decide which direction we move on.
Exactly. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week for sure. As I've said
I
many times already on this stream.
Yeah. So I just
Um,
want to get was the third ticker MDAY? Is that a ticker? Is it Monday or
it could be Monday, perhaps. I think there's MNDY, isn't it?
yeah?
Money
Yes.
Manager. Make sure you stick that in the comments. Make sure that's the right ticker. Happy to look at MDAY if that does exist. But
I
if
don't
you
think
mean Monday, then
MDAY exists though. So
okay. Well, anyway, either way, it's good to have you back, Money Manager. Always happy to have you on the stream. We'll move on to the next slide then, while we're settling
usual.
through this live stream. What was that? Sorry.
I'm saying our usual stuff where you can find us.
Yeah, yeah. So see where you can find us. You can find me on X. I post there pretty much daily. Obviously, plenty of charts around long-term and short-term charts as well. And of course, you've got the YouTube as well. I've got lots of different evergreen content, trading evergreen content. It's all I make, just so you can come back to it. When you're ready on certain subjects, you can come and find me there. What have you got going on, okay?
Well, similar to you, I'm on X, YouTube, and Substack. And Substack, actually, I do write a couple of interesting ideas that. So the 2025 summary, I will be putting it there, and 2026 picks will be there. Of course, I'll make a YouTube video as well, but it will go on Substack before that. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Awesome. You can get our tickers there at Sean Trades underscore and at InvestK as well on all of those various platforms that we've got on the screen there. Money Manage did actually mean Monday, so we'll get
Yep.
that
Yep.
sorted on the list. And we've got another one here from Poonam Kale, if you can pronounce it like that.
Mhm.
UNH, and I know you like UNH, so we'll be happy to bring that one up. So just bear with us while we get through these slideshows. Well, only one slideshow. I've had to reorganize this slide case because I've had to put I don't have enough space for the rest of the year. So I had to put a couple of these together.
Listen, I made it double
But
digits. Yes, I got 10. I'm double digits now.
you made that last week, so actually I won this week because we were both negative, but of
Yeah.
course we both went green. So I only pipped you by a percent and a half, taking my tally up to 17 and you down to 10. But the important thing is I had 4 losing weeks in a row, and I've got back on the board with a winner.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Finally,
just a
you were
bit
able
of
to beat
light-hearted fun.
Corby, right?
Yeah. Finally, a core weave that lost. But yeah, we'll see what our picks do this week. I've got Grab, and you've got who've you got this week? IREN, isn't it?
IREN, yes.
Yeah, so a couple of volatile names there, so it's going to be a very interesting week. So make sure you come back next week to see who's won the week, probably the first week of November, actually. So it's going to be interesting to see who's doing that. Okay, let's move on. We've got a comment here, I think. Before we do that, then we'll answer this comment here. Kaye, can you name some pure play stocks on Robotax FSD?
Robotaxi FSD. So Robotaxi FSD is the standard name that Tesla uses, right? So of course Tesla is one, right? I think if you're really looking at these plays, I would say definitely Uber is something they haven't really announced anything. So I was talking to a couple Uber drivers, and so one of the guys actually said that they haven't really announced anything, but they are definitely working on something because there was some sort of an email that went out to certain individuals that they would like to do some kind of a testing, but he didn't give me much details. I tried to inquire. Now I don't know if it's just he was just hyping the stock or whatever be the case, but so that Uber could be one, right? Because you're looking at the potential of what could be. I think Rivian. Now, Rivian is not going to go into the robo taxi or in that space, but they are going to have an autonomy day in December, which is coming up. I think 11th or 10th, something like that, on December. So it will be interesting to know what they're going to decide. Um, what about Neo? Do you think Neo is into that? I don't
Oh,
know.
100%. Yeah. And at the kind of 3 levels that they have, they've got premium cars. They've got slightly below, which is kind of Tesla level, Tesla Model Y level. And of course, they've got Firefly as well, which is even lower
Okay.
level of graded vehicle, however you want to say it. So they've got all 3 of those. I don't think the lower one, Firefly, has FSD. But I'm sure along on the way they probably will have that with the technology that they're building, the infrastructure they have as well. But what about Google as well? Google Waymo.
Yes, that's a good one. So
Yeah.
unless Google goes ahead and spins off the Waymo division, because once Waymo starts, actually Waymo is testing in New York as well. So New York is going to be the most difficult test for the robo taxi. Unlike other places like Austin and all these places, their downtown and New York downtown or midtown is a completely different ball game. It's two worlds apart. So I think if Waymo gets successful, Tesla is also testing. They haven't announced it, but I have seen a couple of robo taxis testing. So if that ends up happening true, I think Google is gonna eventually start to make a lot of money from the Waymo division. But pure play, I would say Uber is one. Grab is actually doing a lot of things on their side, and Google. So these three plays in a long-winded answer.
Yeah, and Neo as well. We'll stick Neo in there as well.
And yes, and keep an eye on Rivian, by the way, from a
Yeah.
FSD standpoint, on the autonomy day.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the question there, Money Managed. We'll crack back into the live stream here. My stock this week is actually Grab. So we just kind of briefly mentioned it there.
Yep.
And I like it from a technical point of view and obviously a really long term point of view as well. But I'm just kind of talking about the shorter term in this particular slide. But for years on, I'm looking at kind of 8, 9, 10, etc. So what we'll do is we'll just move me out the way, well, us out the way down there. You can see a couple of indicators. We've got the RSI down here. We're kind of sitting around that 50 mark after a little bit of, I'd say consolidation, possibly slightly negative price action that we've had recently. But we did have a nice breakout and we come back down to retest this level, which I really like for the longer term at least. So we've got the RSI sitting nicely, and also the MACD. You see this yellow line kind of coming down. It's kind of curling up. You can't quite see it on the stream, but it is kind of curling up nicely, and you can see that with the price action we've had in the last couple of days. So with that, obviously we've got the trend line break as well in the last couple of days. Obviously, it's kind of broken out already. But what we're looking for is kind of a retracement back up to, not retracement, a move back up to 660, which is about 13% from here. With a stop loss probably around about below 540. It's a big stop loss, but it's one that's possible if you haven't got in this already. Of course, I would have spoken about this on Thursday, but of course, we had Friday price action to kind of play out, which is why it's all up here. I wish I could have pointed out on Thursday, which I kind of did on X. So if you didn't see that, then go back and have a look at that. But yeah, that's my play for kind of this week, I guess. I wanted to carry on because this stock can make that move back up to that in 1 week, of course. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Grab at the moment? I know you like it long term.
I love it long term, honestly. This has a lot of potential. So I'm not really treating Grab as my like weekly trade idea. This is more for me really a long term play. And the reason is just the market these guys serve, and they're bringing AI into their like workflows. So they have their drivers, riders, all those folks using AI. And there are a lot of great channels on Twitter that actually do a very deep dive analysis of Grabs. And then I think you should also, if you're interested, should watch the CEO interviews which he has given. Is a very phenomenal guy. So I think from a long-term perspective, so I might be a little biased with Grab per se, but I'm not going to trade it on a weekly basis because I think there's a better risk to reward and there's a lot more potential in other place names. But I like this long-term, and I am close to building up to a medium size position. And if it actually traces back under 5, then I'll probably add heavily into that current position.
Yeah, so I think the kind of ultimate feeling there is we both like Grab. Short term more so for me, you more so long term. I also like it long term, as we mentioned at the beginning of this kind of section. So yeah, looking good, I think, for Grab going forward. What else I was going to say? Grab's got like an app, and they're going into finance as well, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is
So
crazy.
it's like a super app. Now I know that Elon Musk said, "Hey, we want to have a super app in US," but it's US is just not structured that way. But Asia is structured like that, right? You have WeChat, which is basically, this is how it all started in China, and then now similar to the same trend, you have Grab. It's like a Uber. It's like a food delivery. It's now you have a financial app in there. It's basically you're trying to like expand into the entire your like a consumer's every aspect of your life, and you just like open the app and it can do 100 things in there. So
Incredible. All right, let's move on then from my pick of the week, which was Grab, and to your pick of the week, which is IREN. Not one you've had for like, ever, maybe.
no, this is the first time. And generally I was thinking is like, I keep bringing the same names, and sometimes it's good to kind of share other names. I'm also trading BMNR, but looking at the setup, this one has a much better, the reward compared to the BMNR. So I have few talking points because I don't use this often. So what I have noticed and what I found was that we have a lot of dark pool accumulation and full sentiment. So there's a lot of tailwind. So there's a lot of positive sentiment behind the stock, as well as there's a lot of accumulation in the dark pool happening around this level. And then the real test will be, can it climb up to the $70? What is it right now? Let me see. I can't see it on my side.
62.90.
62, yeah. So that's the next one. We actually got by October 24, there was a $29 million calls opened for this particular ticker, which basically is also showing that there's a lot of institutional buying happening. So what we are saying and what I'm thinking is going to happen, if we can break the $74 mark with volume, there's really not any other volume shelf and you could easily get to the 85-90 pretty fast. And then if you pair it up with the AI data center, because these guys were into the whole Bitcoin and stuff like that. So now AI data centers, energy, Bitcoin mining and slash other crypto mining, all these sectors, because they are having a lot of tailwind behind it, this could easily get to that level of 85-90. Is it going to happen next week? I don't know, but they do have an earnings coming up. I think it's in the first week. Let me check. So they are reporting on 11/6, and from what I read was they were supposed to report it a little bit later, but they pulled back the earnings. So generally, why do the companies do that? They do it because they might be announcing something that could trigger the price to rise, and maybe that's why the call options are building up there. So I don't know if that is going to play, but I'm definitely going to set up a small position from a trading swing trading standpoint for 2 to 3 weeks, where I could take advantage of that upswing. And of course, if the news comes out and it's a nothing burger, you have your stop losses, because generally that ends up happening.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this stock and thinking, back in June, this was $12. It's crazy. I mean, considering there was a few people that I used to talk with who were into the stock and kind of bought the stock, but you do day to day life and you miss certain stocks, and this is another one that's kind of escaped my vision.
It's
Um,
just the sheer number, Sean, just the sheer number of stocks that have gone from the low teens, or less than $10 to 50, 60, 90, $100. I mean, Palantir, your classic
yeah,
example, was less than $10, like what, in 2024, right?
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it happens. Just obviously we missed them quite a lot. But of course, I mean, you spoke about it coming above kind of 72, getting up to kind of 84 and 90. It's still one hell of a move it needs to make higher. And given the momentum it's got and obviously the popularity it's building, I can't imagine it not doing that, at least in the longer term. I don't know what the volume is like, the actual kind of daily bar volume, but I imagine it's kind of
Let me
increasing
let me
with the candles we can see on the screen here. It would make sense that it's just generally increasing, which is
it
also
is.
a good sign as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't increased. It did increase in the last 2 days, 3 days actually, but it dipped between the first week of October to the fourth week of October. It has dipped since then, but it I think what is happening now is because of that sentiment. There's a lot of positive sentiment going around that there must be some big news, a big announcement coming up on the earnings. So sometimes that anticipation builds up the volume, and hopefully that news or the announcement matches the sentiments. Otherwise you could see a sharp drop as well, and that's why you put a tight stop loss on the trade that you get out.
Exactly. It's a rule that I go by, and probably a rule that you go by. Is I always have a stop loss on any trade that I have, whether it be day trade, swing trade, even long term investing. To a certain extent, you've got these stocks that sometimes they break larger technicals, and you just kind of have maybe a monthly stop loss. That makes sense. So yeah, just be aware of when you're trading. Just make sure you have a stop loss. In my opinion, at least. I mean, some people don't. But yeah, no, awesome pick. I think a couple of interesting picks this week. I picked Grab, and Kaye here has obviously brought IREN to the table. So we'll see how these get on. And with that, we will take that off the screen just temporarily. We'll stick this on the screen temporarily as well. So make sure you subscribe to the Trading Weekly on YouTube. And also put your ticker request in the comments down below. We've had a few already, but I'll leave that up on the screen now so people can see, just in case you're joining with us now live. What I'll do is I'll get the chart ready to go. It'll be a busy week coming up.
Yeah, exactly. It's unfortunately I'm in a conference for 3 days, so I won't be able to actively trade again this week.
That could be a good thing, though. Okay,
With
there's a big advocate for people who you see this week with all this news and all these earnings that are coming up and thinking, actually, nah, take a week off and come back next weekend and see how it all unfolds.
yeah, I do.
Personally, I like the volatility, especially on the daily time frame. I like to see not the daytime frame, the hourly time frame and stuff like that. So I like the volatility because obviously you can make money on those as well. But yeah, I can totally understand if people look at this and think, yeah, no, it's not for me. Right, let's jump into the charts. What's first?
The first one is Tesla.
Get rid of that. Make this full screen. Tesla, here we go.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a choppy week, actually, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, and it's because basically they missed on the EPS, and
Yeah,
they
they
didn't,
hit revenue, didn't they?
right. They beat on the
Yeah.
revenue, which was expected. So it wasn't anything new. They missed on the EPS, and that's primarily because even though you increase your revenue, your margins are getting compressed, and that's not a good sign. And I know that the fanboys it's not a car company and they are this and that and blah blah blah. We end up always talking about, dude, they are selling cars for the revenue. So it may have unlimited potential, 20, 30 years, but at this next quarter, what are they going to be measured against? The revenue of selling cars. So
Yeah. On the technical side of things, we've got obviously the last 5 days are here. So pretty flat on the week. Obviously, we spoke about it a bit earlier on the market overview section. But it's kind of holding on to this 20-minute average for dear life, isn't it? I mean, it kind of dipped below it on Thursday and kind of opened up nicely above on Friday. Just holding this volume shelf as well on the right side would be very, very important. All-time highs at 488-ish, thereabouts, I think it is. You can see on the left side of the screen there. So as long as it can hold this sort of area and move higher, I don't see any reason why it won't just kind of slowly maybe push through that. Obviously, given the past, Tesla doesn't really do slowly, but it could actually surprise a few people and actually could kind of trickle up nicely with the market, especially with all the other kind of earnings that are going on. It might just sort of fade into the background and just kind of slowly move up.
no,
I'm
I,
not
I
saying
think
mark my words, but it could be
this is
interesting.
a great trading stock. I will tell you that. If you
Yeah.
trade options, you sell calls, you sell puts. This is a great stock to make money on. This is actually my number one stock where I've made the most money on selling options, more than any other ticker, even more than Nvidia.
Well, that's quite a statement, that is,
Yeah,
given the
because
move that Nvidia's made. Yeah.
provides so much volatility and premium that it's like it doesn't make any sense if you're not you if you do wheel strategy, if you sell options and you're not having Tesla as your one of the primary tickers, it's you're leaving a lot of money on the table.
Yeah, no, exactly. Should we move on to the net? Is it?
Yeah, next is Cloudflare. Right. So I think they're reporting earnings on Thursday. So let's see.
Yeah,
Uh,
I've got the line here on the screen already.
so just so you know what we are expecting an EPS of 23 cents. They reported 21 last quarter. They're expecting a revenue of 544 million. Last quarter, they reported 512 million, and you have 28 up revisions with zero down revisions. So, most likely, they are going to have a beat, which is, in the last last 10 quarters, they have had a top line and bottom line beat. So,
It's a nice setup going into the earnings as well. Look at obviously support resistance kind of around this sort of area. It's not the most cemented line given the price action we've seen in the last couple of months. But yeah, push out of the 2 moving averages above this trend line. So it's kind of a bit of limbo, this sort of area, but it's a good area to perhaps take a little bit of a punt for further upside action. Given the history of earnings as well being pretty good. What's the last report? It was down here, wasn't it? So it actually moved a bit lower on the last report, even though it beat. Obviously, future guidance would probably play a part of that. Personally, I would probably leave it for now. It's not that juicy of a stock, in my opinion. Obviously, with the earnings around the corner, it's always a risky play. What do you think? Would you kind of play on earnings on this one at all, or not so
no,
much?
I think I will sit it out because there are some conflicting reports. So I'm looking at a couple of reports here, and then this came out a little bit earlier in September, and that the IT budgets are slowing down. So again, this is cybersecurity space, so it's basically sourced by or paid by the IT firm, the IT departments within the enterprise, right? So if IT funds are going to get impacted, how is this going to impact the Cloudflare? And don't forget the Cloudflare is is a $75 billion company market cap, and they have basically returned you 102% for the year. So it's not like you're down on your position. If you bought it in the start of the year, you're up 102% year to date. So I will actually wait for the earnings and see how things are, because if you have Cloudflare in your portfolio, I actually want the stock to come down so I can add it to my position to build out for long term. And the second that I will want to really track, somebody also requested rubric. How is Cloudflare going to actually use AI in their cybersecurity suite? So that is going to be the next transition, and they have to kind of address that. I don't follow their earnings. Maybe they have already done it, but I haven't really seen any articles specifically talking about Cloudflare and what their AI
Mm.
feature is going to be, because I'm into Okta hasn't really talked about it, and that's why they are all falling behind. And I really think rubric is something setting up, which you used to trade a lot, is a real pure AI play on the cybersecurity side.
An interesting one. See what happens this Thursday then for Cloudflare. What's next?
It's ALAB.
Ah, yes, the one I was excited about earlier. Astera Labs. It's a very volatile one. Um, oh, here we go. Where do we even start?
They report earnings on 11/4.
So that's two, not this week, the week after, isn't it?
The week after, yes.
Yeah, so that's the line there. The earnings line is in place. Yeah, I mean, we're almost filling this gap. Obviously, I've got the gaps indicator on. So, got a gap here coming down to 140-ish, 5 sitting on 164. But even that, just kind of saying that, that's an over a 10% move. It's well over a 10% move, even if it was to come back down to fill that gap. We've got the 200 moving average sitting just below that as well. It's in a bit of limbo. I don't really like it here at all, because below these two moving averages, obviously, there's a gap to the upside as well. So you've got two gaps either side, which I do expect, obviously, one of them to fill in the near future, perhaps around the sort of earnings time. Do have potential trend line coming down here. You got any thoughts on this one, Kay?
No, I don't. I haven't traded this one, so no particular thoughts. But it's
But
definitely making lower highs, and I would want this to kind of give me a direction from a breakout standpoint right before I actually get involved in the stock if I'm trading.
yes, this is typically a bullish pattern. So if it kind of trades with a descending wedge, if it breaks to the upside, you normally see quite vicious price action to the upside, perhaps back up to kind of 226 there, as you can see. So that would be a nice move, but of course you would have to wait for it to kind of play out and break there. So perhaps it breaks around this sort of area. So
Hmm.
maybe a bit of patience needed for this stock, man ram, at least from my point of view. So let's just get our highlighter there and just stick it there. So if we get a bit of a break there, that would be ideal for a play back to those highs there, which is a good 26%. And that's okay. You can have a nice tight stop loss, probably around about this sort of area. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Stera. Good to see this chart though. I haven't seen this chart for ages. So I won't stick it on the watch list. It's not quite watch listable just yet. But yeah, we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks.
So next is Amazon, which we wanted to discuss. Uh, or you want to take the? Or let's go with Amazon first, and then it's only one. So they're
Yeah,
reporting.
so they're reporting earnings on Thursday, aren't they?
Yeah.
So the reason I like this is because I mentioned the kind of recent trend line break. Of course, this trend line isn't perfect. You could probably move it up, maybe move it down, whatever. But you can see it's kind of generally there. But you can see on Friday, it kind of pops out there alongside the 20-minute average and the 50-minute average and the volume profile here on the right side. So I expect further decent price action, at least into earnings. What happens on earnings day is completely different. I have a position at the moment. I started the position on Friday with this break and hold. So I kind of bought it kind of middle away through Friday. I think it was about 4 o'clock UK time. So that kind of played out nicely so far. I'm looking obviously for all-time highs. Not all-time, is that all-time highs? Near enough all-time highs, maybe that kind of 236 area. Whether we get that in the next 3 days is going to be very unlikely. But of course, wherever it ends up, if it ends up even below, obviously if it stops out, it stops out. But if it ends up at 227 or if it ends up at 233, then I'll just take that profit and just get through earnings and then reassess the position. I plan to sell the whole lot before the whole trade. I do have other positions of Amazon, of course. But yeah, what are your thoughts on Amazon?
So same long term, great play. Actually, this is also another Robotaxi play. And how? Because they launched Zoox, which is part of the Amazon, family of companies in Las Vegas. No drama, no fanfare, hardly any coverage, and on the strip you can actually use Waymo, or I don't know if you can use Waymo or not, but Zoox is there, and there is no steering wheel, no pedal, nothing. It's like a mini bus. You probably have seen it already. So this is another play that nobody's talking about because it's not creating revenues yet, but something that could balloon over time. So something to keep in mind. So
What's
Waymo,
it called? Zoox.
Zoox, Zoox.
I don't think I've ever heard of that.
Yeah, it's another mobility division that they launched, and with no fanfare, nobody doing any coverage, slowly launched this, and as they will get more successful, because Waymo is getting successful, it's going to start getting launched in the same other area. So now a lot more competition in that space.
Interesting. I had to look that one up, I think. Check it
Who
out.
knew, right? Who knew?
Yeah, they had to do something around that area, didn't they?
Listen,
Okay.
Amazon is a real, I think among all the Mag 7, right? We talk about all of the Mag 7 great companies, but I think Amazon is really hiding a lot of things in terms of they are not promoting themselves as the robotic companies, AI play. Yes, I mean, you will see a lot of, they're not like the leaders in everything, but they're everywhere. Their hands are everywhere. And they don't need to be number one in every single segment. They can be number three, number four, number five player and still bring a lot of cash. And that's all that matters from your investment standpoint.
Exactly. Okay. I think that was a good constructive talk on Amazon there. Well covered. What's next?
Rubric.
RBRK. Here we
Yeah.
go. Oh, look. So I've not traded this one for ages since it kind of battled around here and it dropped here. Kind of triggered me out my stop loss. That's how trading works. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. This one I lost. I did take profits, so kind of over the kind of course of the actual trade, it's about break even-ish, I think it was. But you've got some negative price action. I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago. I think it did come up maybe 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I said perhaps maybe it might find it difficult to kind of get through this area. And it kind of has kind of done that. It's gone back down to the 200 moving average there, the red line. Kind of struggling to get through the 20 moving average, which is not a great sign, Kay. That's normally the easiest one to get through in inverted commas. But yeah, are you looking at this one? Do you still trade it? Did you have?
No, I'm
Yeah.
not trading it, but I'm actually going to build a position in this one.
Yeah.
So right now, it is under the 200 SMA. For folks, if you're coming here for the first time, Sean uses EMA, I use SMA. So the price will be a little bit different. However, if you actually put the Fibonacci, you'll realize that 75.17 is the 50% retracement. And generally, we see stocks bouncing at that level. And we have seen we have had three touches in the last 5 days from the 50%. Now, you definitely need a catalyst to break the 200-day SMA, because that generally is a very strong resistance. So let's see if anything is coming up for rubric. And so when is rubric reporting earnings? Okay, so rubric reporting will be happening in December, so we have couple more weeks. But I think that we are seeing a lot more press releases on rubric, a lot more chatter on the X about rubric. And I really think that from the pure play on the AI cybersecurity, this is a little bit still undervalued at this point in time. So I would build a position slowly. I wouldn't rush to build your entire position in one go, but that's something I'm looking to build. Again, this is going to be a swing trade as well.
Yeah. You spoke about the 50% retracement on the Fibonacci. You can see that kind of on the screen here with this goldish box. It kind of plays in line with this support resistance line, which I didn't have on the chart until you brought this one up. It's also played resistance in the past, kind of December of last year, April, February, March of this year, and then again March, late March, early April as well. So there's good pedigree at this level. Whether you get into a trade now, potentially here, thereabouts, you can keep a nice stop loss down below this line. Um, which is, what's that, 71.78 to be precise, but I would probably say 71.50 just to round it
Yes.
down slightly.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a good chance of that. I would say that's probably only 8 to 9% loss. So risk to reward wise, I think that's pretty decent considering the target is obviously back up to 108, 102, 106 sort of area. So that would be a good risk to reward on your trade there. So let's just do that hypothetically while we're here. You're looking at a 4-to-1 trade thereabouts, given a little bit more due diligence, a little bit more um, research on the entry. I would do for sure. I'm gonna write that down actually.
Yeah, and then this could be a very good leap play, by the way, because right now the stock is down, stock is trending downwards, and it's under the 200-day SMA. So if you're looking at a 2027, even add the money you're buying, or a little bit further out the money, let's say $80 call you're buying, you're effectively only paying $1,800, $2,000 for holding 100 stock options, 100 calls, sorry, 100 stocks for one call. So that's something you can consider. You can consider much more deeper in the money, which you'll of course have to pay a lot more. But this could be a good play without putting I don't know, if you're buying 100 shares, you'll have to, like, put 78, $7,900. But only $2,000 you can get a call option. That's something to consider.
Awesome. All right, let's move on.
Okay, next is CrowdStrike. I haven't really traded this one.
No, neither have I. At
Such
all,
a
to be honest with
beast. Oh my god, this stock, I still remember the time when it dipped to the $200 range from that debacle that happened last year.
you. Yeah,
Remember?
I remember that. I was in the gym when that happened, and I was like, "Oh, it's dropping. Should I buy it?" And obviously, I said no. Over time, and to be fair, it would have been a choppy ride. It would have come down even more. I would
Okay,
have
so
been
you
down.
hold it, right? You went up $331 from that point. It's like crazy.
Yeah,
164%.
but that's at the time you don't know that, do you? So you just kind of that's how it goes sometimes. But generally, I think what we've got here. So this is draw a couple of lines as you do this sort of area. So perhaps it's kind of topping out in this channel slightly. It's always hard to do.
The channel.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've got a bit of a channel here. So if we get a bit of positive price action next couple of days, perhaps we kind of come back down version to the means and the moving averages, and maybe we break that and come back down to the bottom of the channel. Or we do a bit of a Palantir, we do a bit of a hood, and we just break out of this channel to the upside. So we can see a bit more of a euphoric move back up to kind of 620-ish. I would say just kind of on the average kind of move there, maybe 610, 620, that sort of area. Let's draw a box so we can come back to this in a couple of weeks and laugh at my decision. Yeah, thereabouts. A little bit of hope there. I wouldn't be trading this. I'm not going to be aiming to trade this, but just a little bit more on my perspective there. Any thoughts on this one before we move on to next
No,
week
I
here?
think no, I think you pretty much covered it. Definitely, I'm also staying away from trading CrowdStrike. It's a little bit too pricey for my trading. Um, all right, moving on to next one is Monday.
This one is definitely in your warehouse, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think who brought this up? I think Money Manage. Money Manage.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, I think go to my Substack and read the Monday article that I had posted. I think it was a couple of weeks back that I posted, maybe a month or so back. So the fair value on Monday is about $345. That's what the fair value is based on the multiple DCF analysis folks have done. When the stock actually dipped, it dipped around what the lowest was 167, and now so we created a big gap between the 220 to 240. That was the gap. So if you're following the whole AI trend, apart from the semiconductors and power and all that, next of course is the SaaS space on how are they going to monetize. And in that article, I talk specifically how Monday is actually monetizing the AI features or AI lead. And for those who are on the call, so what they are basically doing is they're selling you AI credit. So they are building these features that you can use within the platform with your existing subscription, and um, they are giving you 500 credits free for the month. So basically that is to get you in the door. Once you start using those AI features, they run by pretty quick. So for example, let's say somebody sends you an email. That email gets logged automatically on a Monday board. So if you use Monday, they have something called a board. And then if you want to extract that information from the email and put it in different columns, that's an AI feature. Now, there are a lot of use cases where people do this. And then each extraction will be 1 credit. So if you run this 100 times a day, multiply by 30 days, you will go through 500 credits in no time. So basically what they're doing is now you purchase AI credits. So they are coming up with a different tier plan for AI. So apart from what you pay for the seats, so it's per user per month, you have to also buy additional AI credits. So they are slowly squeezing in different AI features, and that I think is the real value add for softwares like Monday. The reason is because I am a power user on Monday. I build workflows, so I kind of understand where they are going with this. And this is a sleeper pick. Not many people are talking about it. Everybody's talking about path, UI path, how they're going to get involved. Most people who talk about that, they don't even understand how to use UiPath as a software. It is not as easy as just talking points. So that's what I'm saying. This is a long-term play. I think we have a lot of potential on this particular stock.
Could be one of your 2026 picks potentially, isn't it?
Well,
Or
you have to wait for the
wait and
2020.
see.
I'll tell you
Okay.
what it is.
I'm looking forward to that episode very much. That'll be kind of around Christmas, New Year time. I obviously haven't sorted out the dates for that yet, but you can join us then if you're around, of course. I like this one. I've had been in it. I think we talked about it a couple of months ago, and I rode it from. I've actually still got the position on the screen for some reason. I rode it from 182 ish all the way up to this red dot here, which is where I sold. Just because it was struggling to get through the 50 mile average, I thought I'd sell a position. Not overly interested in it, to be honest. I just wanted to get the kind of gap filled down, but it was struggling here, so I sold it. Made some good money. It looks like it kind of came all the way back down and some. So I would have actually got stopped out on that if I hadn't have sold it there. So good management there from me on this occasion. Not always the case, but you can see again once again back at the 50 mile average. If it gets above that and then comes back down, touch it as support nicely, then that might be a good entry point just because of the recent price action around that 50 minute average. I know you like it from a logical point of view, but I would like to try and tailor the two together, so the TA and the
Exactly.
fundamentals as well.
Yep.
So let's get rid of those since that's all kind of old news now. But I thought I wanted to kind of talk about that while it was here on the screen. But yeah, Monday.com, it's an interesting one for sure. What's next?
Next up is UNH.
Another one of your stocks. It's all you tonight. Fantastic.
But
Plugging up nicely, isn't it?
as I say, every time you have gaps, and for larger companies, not all gaps get filled, but most gaps do. This is a classic example. If you had actually gotten in the lows of 250, 60, 70s, even 300, you're sitting on a decent profit. Now it has completely filled the first gap. And I kid you not, it is going to fill the second gap. It will be back to its all-time highs. The key is what happens with the ACA subsidies, which is tied up with the bill that's coming out. So if the ACA subsidies stay, I think you'll see the healthcare stocks rally. And that will actually push the stock above the 200-day SMA, because right now the stock is below 200-day and 300-day SMA. It pays you dividends. So most, in my personal opinion, most people who hold UNH are not trading. They are basically investing, and they are probably using it as a dividend stock. And you were given a gift to add to your long-term positions. Now, from a trading standpoint, I think short term, I don't know how it's going to play, but I think the key to break the 200 and 300 SMA is the ACA subsidies. I don't know when that will happen, but if you are aiming for the second gap fill, which is 60% from here, even from here you can make 60% on a stock like this, with a market cap of 500 or 400 billion, whatever it is. So that's what I'm aiming for. I don't have an active position right now because I did make some profit and I exited. But I would wait for a pullback. If we get rejected from the 200-day SMA, I might get into the position again. But it's all relevant. It's all dependent on the ACA side.
Is there a case for people not wanting the volatility, not wanting the kind of dramatic price action which we've seen in this stock and many other healthcare names recently? Is there a case for owning the ETF, the healthcare ETF instead?
The healthcare would be what, XLV, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yeah.
Yes, I think it is. Yeah.
So I mean, even on the healthcare one, like in the dip was in the March, right? You were trading at 145, and when the April announcement happened, it went from 145 to 128. So I mean, yeah, I mean the swing wasn't as bad as some of the other stocks which wiped out like 50, 60, 70%, but he was still down like a 13, 14, 15%.
Yeah, I just think I'm not too sure if I want to get into UNH, but maybe perhaps I want to get into XLV potentially. But we'll go back to the UNH while we're
Yeah.
here. I just thought it was an interesting thought for people that might be watching and thinking, actually, I don't really like this name, but perhaps a small part of exposure. Because obviously UNH is a big part of XLV, isn't it?
Yeah,
So
it is.
it's a way of getting into it. It's like SMH. If you don't want to trade um, AMD or Nvidia, I'd sometimes just trade SMH just to have something in it. And if the whole tide moves, then it moves quite nicely. But that's just how I work, I guess.
Actually, UNH is only 6% of XLV. The biggest one is
Oh, okay.
Eli Lilly, which is with 12%. Johnson and Johnson with 8.73, AbbVie at 7.6, and then United Healthcare with 6.15. So it's
I,
actually
I guess it.
yeah.
I guess it used to be bigger, obviously,
It
with
used
the valuation drop. Yeah, but still, it's not a bad percentage of an actual overall ETF, I think.
I
But
think
for me, I'd like it. Sorry, carry on.
no, go ahead, complete.
I said for me, I'd like to get it back above the 200 mil average.
100%.
That's the main thing for me for sure. But that's all I'm going to say, really. What were you going to say?
No, I agree with you with the sentiments. I think if you really want to trade for the next gap fill, I want the 200 ASMA, and then a retest, and then moving. Only then I will basically enter at that position for the next gap fill. But it's going to eventually happen. You can play the long game here, and I think for folks who are long term investors in UNH, I mean these are places you should be adding.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
all the time we've got higher lows kind of popping up here on the screen and higher highs popping up here on the screen. If it continues trending like that and through the 200 moving average, you've always got a good chance of it continuing, um, especially with that support underneath it. Anyway, yeah, what's next?
Next is something called CCCX, which is Churchill something. Let me see, what is it?
Churchill Capital Corp X.
Churchill Capital Corp.
Um,
What do they do? Let's see.
chart is mad.
It
Oh,
focuses on effecting a merger, amalgamation, share exchange, asset allocation. Okay. It was founded in 2024. Pretty new company.
it lost 50% in about 8 days.
Wow.
And then it went to highs of 58% in 3 days. What the volume is like on the stock. Oh, look, yeah, high. I mean, it's interesting for sure. Probably wouldn't use a big chunk of my portfolio if I was going to trade this. I probably won't. What did you say it did? I wasn't really listening. Sorry.
It's in the finance sector. They do mergers, share exchange, asset acquisition. Uh,
Interesting.
it's based out of New York, and it was founded in 2024. So 2 years running, I guess.
We could make a case of this trend line breakout if you had any sort of technical analysis on it at all. I don't hate it, to be honest. If you could probably play this. This is very high risk, and I probably won't do this, but you probably could potentially get in right here or even slightly below and go for the highs. Then you've got a almost 6-to-1 trade, but only a 6% chance of losing, which is not that bad. I would probably only take a very small percent of my portfolio for this, of course. So that's kind of my thoughts, if at all, for this particular stock. But yeah, that's it. Anything from you?
No, I think right now I would definitely want it to see, because I feel like right now it's kind of creating this. It's chopping between the levels of 21 and 18.5. Right. It's basically hovering around the volume shelf. So
Yeah, and that's a big amount as well. That's over 10% swing.
yeah.
And you can easily get chopped up on these sort of stuff. So just be careful if you are trading these names. Okay. What's
All
next?
right. This is PayPal. Man, this
PayPal,
stuff.
this might be our last one, isn't it?
Yeah, this is the last one. I don't have anything else.
If you do want an extra ticker, put it into the chat now. We'll probably take maximum 2 or 3 more, depending what comes up. But yeah, PayPal, I mean, this one's been flat for ages now. Look at it. This is the
Yeah,
daily
it's
chart.
I mean, I do have to say, I really thought PayPal would be, we would see some sort of a run in PayPal, but man, I was definitely wrong on
Oh,
PayPal.
we've got earnings on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't know where to even start with this. I mean, we've got earnings on Tuesday. It's hard to kind of talk about it at all. But I think definitely getting above this 200 moves and staying above it would be ideal.
And even for the Wall Street, they have both. They have 15 up revisions, 14 down revisions. So seems like it's a 50-50. So it's definitely chopping at these levels for probably the earnings, and we'll probably see some sort of a reaction to the earnings. So
Yeah. Do you actually still use PayPal as a whole or not? Because
who,
this is an
me?
interesting question I've asked many people, and they just say no, don't use it anymore.
Well, PayPal has other brands like Venmo is still popular.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I'm really not that fascinated with the business model per se. I mean, it was definitely something different back in the day, but now I think, at least in the US, after the banks per se launch Zelle, which is Chase and Bank of America, most, if you are actually working with small business owners, they will say just Zelle us the payment. They don't even have Venmo. Venmo is mostly for the younger folks, but I think they have moved on to something else now. That's why creating a super app is very difficult, because there's so many options. You have Apple Cash, right? If you have an iPhone, the other person has an iPhone, you can do an Apple Cash. You have
Yeah.
Venmo, you have Zelle, you have PayPal. It's just too many options. Cash App, crazy number of options. Right.
So we'll move on. What we'll do is we'll do up to
We have
BMNR.
no, we got a lot of tickers actually. So let's go with RGTI next.
Quantum stock. Yeah. So quantum stocks at the moment are kind of plummeting a little bit, and that's okay because they've run up so much. I remember this stock, and I remember not buying it at 154, I think it was, which seems ridiculous now. This is back when Nate was on the show a couple of years ago. Yeah, so he liked the stock. I hope he's still in it. That'd be awesome for him. Considering it's now trading at what 38, even after the drop from 58. But yeah, you can see a natural kind of come down. I'd say the RSI was at 87, 88 twice. The MACD, as you can't see, the MACD is curling over really heavily. I would like us to get back down to this sort of level. Perhaps that would be around about 29-ish. I'll put the line in there. But I'm definitely staying away from this name, at least in the near term.
As of
Anything
right,
else? Would you cover this one?
no, as of right now, you his name, right?
So there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, just about. Yeah, I can hear. You.
Oh, no, I'm saying as of right now, you'll stay away from the name. That's what you said. Because I missed.
Yes, that's the one. Yeah.
Okay. Next up is a BMNR.
I'll let you talk to this one because you're in this. Am I right?
Yeah, I'm in this. So I have multiple. Let me open my chart here for a second. Yeah, so with BMNR, I actually have a position at the 45, 50, and I have multiple trades open. Sold options at, I think, couple at 55 and couple more at 50. So I'm basically targeting this consolidation phase and accumulating shares for the move to the upside. And then basically the idea is, as the crypto market starts to pick up, as we start to see a little bit more move towards the November, December for that upswing that we are all hoping for, I think BMNR
Yeah.
is going to get benefit from that. So that's the play.
I think this weekend we've got just checking this thing on the side here. Yeah, Bitcoin's up today quite nicely, 1.5%. Ethereum's up. Solana is up as well. So I'm sure lots of crypto names are getting quite quite frothy in the last couple of days. So it'll be interesting to see if they can make that Christmas Santa rally. That's what they call it, isn't it? Santa rally.
Yeah, the Santa rally.
We can
Yeah.
see lots of tickers coming in, but we do have to be fairly strict today. So we've got to end it there. Obviously, we did have UUU, Meta, IRM there, and BITF as well. So sorry we didn't get to those. We will get to them perhaps next week if you come back next week. We are on next week, Kaye, aren't we?
We are on, yes.
We are on next week. Good. Because
it's going
you
to
leave
be
sometime,
daylight
don't you?
saving here, yeah.
Yeah, and you leave at some point in November, am I right? So we'll be
Yeah.
taking a small break in November.
Yeah, we will take a small break in November. We will announce that. I think we still have a couple more weekends left before I leave.
Awesome. Good to hear. Thanks once again for everyone joining in and obviously putting their tickers and the request into the comments. Sorry, I'll stick this up on the screen here. So yeah, make sure you subscribe to us on YouTube, Trading Weekly, and of course, thank you very much to Wolf as well for actually the platform. We really couldn't do it without you. It's a really good show every single week, so make sure you keep coming back. 1 p.m. Eastern time. Today I had to come on a bit earlier because of the clock's changed for me over here, but not so much for you over the pond.
Nope.
Any final wishes before I kind of take
Wrap it up? No, I think a great week of trading coming up for those folks. And I think if you don't like the earnings trade, I think just set it out, enjoy, and see how things play out. You can do paper trading also if you like it. But if the opportunity presents for the names that you really like, if you see those massive drops, I think you should always start to build those positions for your long-term investment.
Yeah, well said. I think I'll be taking a bit of a backseat this week. I'll definitely be watching, but I won't be actively trading so much because it's just going to be all over the place. It's going to be very hard to manage it emotionally, let alone from the actual position side of point of view. So just be careful if you are out there. I'm just kind of mirroring what Kaye said. Just be careful with your trading. But I think it's a message that we both want to kind of implement quite strongly. I think with this week kind of coming up. We've got a couple of nice messages here. We've got good stuff, guys, as well from Real Zero Fox Trading. I said that out loud. We've got much appreciated gents as well. We've got thanks so much as well from Man Ram, who's a very regular watcher. And we appreciate all of you. Make sure you come back next week at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Take care, everyone. Safe trading.
Take care.
See you later, Kaye. Take care.